And that's about all I had to say about this game. Well, there is still the options menu. And what the hell is this? What the f was that? That pretty much sums up my initial reaction the day I decided to peruse the options menu in Luigi's Mansion and found a trailer for something called Pikmin. I had no clue what to make of what I just watched, but I was intrigued. Fast forward a couple of months. I got Super Smash Bros. Melee for my GameCube, sunk an unhealthy number of hours into it collecting trophies, and oh my god, it's the guy from that Pikmin video in my Luigi's Mansion game. Fast forward a bit more, I was at my cousin's house and his parents had just bought him Super Smash Bros. Brawl for his Wii, and lo and behold, Olimar was a playable character. I thought to myself, this Pikmin game must be a big deal if the main character earned a spot in Smash Bros. That was enough for me to do some research to figure out what exactly I was missing out on. Pikmin, in the simplest way I can put it, is a real-time strategy game where you take control of a space captain named Olimar, who crash lands on a foreign planet and commands a platoon of tiny creatures called Pikmin to survive the hostile environment as he tries to fix his spaceship to return home. The technology used for Pikmin is said to have been lifted from the Super Mario 128 tech demo presented at Space World 2000, which demonstrated how the GameCube could render hundreds of characters on the screen at once, each with their own AI. Shigeru Miyamoto had the idea of making a game starring little people for a while, initially coming up with a concept involving Adam and Eve, but of course that idea fell through. The Pikmin were the only characters in the game for a good chunk of its development, until a primary player character was added to lead and interact with the Pikmin in unique ways, like throwing them and rounding them up with a whistle. The main direction for the game wasn't decided on though until the team and director of the project, Shigefumi Hino, witnessed the little guys working together to carry large objects, such as an enemy's corpse. Yeah, Pikmin can get surprisingly morbid and let's just say not for everyone. Despite not being a GameCube launch title by definition, Pikmin released only 2 weeks after the console hit store shelves, right alongside Smash Bros. Melee. Surprisingly, this wasn't a death sentence, and Pikmin went on to sell over 1 million copies on its debut system. Quite impressive given that it was a new IP and, well, was called Pikmin. Didn't sell as well as the single Ai no Uta though, a song made for the game's marketing in Japan. Look at this. Oh, how I miss this era of video game box art that displayed these primitive by today's standards 6th generation CG models. Hey, I'll gladly take this and Pikmin 2's box art over the boring covers whipped up for 3 and 4 and must have been a busy day at the office. So congrats Pikmin 1 on having better box art than the modern titles. I spoke too soon. When the Wii came out, Nintendo had the brilliant idea of re-releasing old GameCube titles for the system that was already backwards compatible with the GameCube and dubbing it the new Play Control line, a new way to play and control these games. And audiences responded with, "F the Wii Remote." The new Play Control line bombed hard, especially in the United States. Only 3 games from the series released here with this ugly branding on the box, and one of those was a Wii version of the first Pikmin game. Horrendous cover art aside, this is my favorite way to play Pikmin. In my opinion, the Wiimote and Nunchuck is the perfect control scheme for this kind of game, allowing you to use the pointer to freely aim Olimar's reticle while making him do other things like run in circles. The GameCube controls are perfectly fine, mind you, but I'm not gonna lie, it's a little hard to come back to these controls after getting so used to playing on the Wii. The controls are the most obvious difference between the 2 versions, but the Wii port also has plenty of other quality of life additions. You can roll back your save file to essentially time travel to a previous day in case you did something like, oh I don't know, forget to call your Pikmin before the end of the day because you were on your phone, and now you have to waste a good chunk of the next day getting your numbers back up. Yeah, it's me. A fucking idiot. The Wii version also makes it easier to tell which onion your Pikmin are carrying something back to. Your reticle has a much longer reach, you can swap between different Pikmin types on the fly, idle yellow Pikmin no longer drop their bomb rocks when you call them with your whistle. That was a fun little quirk I forgot about, and all in all, the Pikmin AI is a little better on the Wii from what I can gather, though not by much. I played a bit of Pikmin 1 as a kid at a friend's house, but the first Pikmin game I owned and completed was Pikmin 2 when it came out on the Wii in 2012. This version of the game was also a new Play Control title that didn't come out in North America for the longest time, until it did via the Nintendo Selects line years later. Despite Pikmin 2 being, you know, Pikmin 2, I enjoyed the game enough to eventually give the whole series a shot, which at the time was only 2 games. I'm what you would call a casual fan of the series, I guess. And I only say that because I know that there are some folks and Muppets out there who live and breathe Pikmin. I'm not as attached to the franchise as others, but that doesn't stop me from recognizing that Pikmin is remarkable. And when I finally experienced Pikmin 1, I was only upset that I didn't seek it out as soon as I saw that trailer all those years ago. Now I could finally meet the Pikmin, organize the Pikmin, fucking sacrifice the Pikmin, but I'm getting ahead of myself. As I mentioned earlier, Pikmin tells the story of Captain Olimar, a resident of the planet Hakatate, who finds himself stranded on an uncharted planet during an expedition when his spaceship the Dolphin collides with an asteroid. It's here where he comes in contact with the Pikmin, a race of plant-like lifeforms who take a liking to Olimar, seeing him as a superior figure whom they are more than happy risking their lives for, so that the captain doesn't have to go on living without his precious massage machine. With the help of the Pikmin, Olimar is able to find and bring the engine of his ship back to the crash site, but there are still 29 fragments that landed on different parts of the planet after the collision, and in order to return home, Olimar needs to locate them and repair the Dolphin before his life support system gives out in 30 days. While it has a standard setup on the surface, the story of the first Pikmin game holds a lot of emotional weight and poignancy. Olimar is the sole voice of this game. You absorb information about menial things through him, like how the controls work and how the Pikmin remind Olimar of his home planet's famous pick carrots, but you also get frequent glimpses of his innermost and personal thoughts when he makes a log at the end of every in-game day. The daily log is one of the best things about the game, as it serves to flesh out Olimar's character. He isn't a one-note video game protagonist. He's a family man. He has a wife and 2 children waiting for him on Hakatate. He has an overbearing boss. He was once a repairman before being promoted. He reflects in horror if the day went badly and caused the deaths of a bunch of Pikmin. He has nightmares and goes through physical changes like hair and weight loss due to the stress. He has moments of hope as he gets closer to finding every ship part, but can also have moments of pure gut-wrenching distress if a playthrough doesn't go well and time begins to run out. When Pikmin 1 came out, Olimar had to have been one of Nintendo's most, pardon the pun here, down-to-earth main characters up to that point. He's not an acrobatic plumber or a chosen hero or a badass bounty hunter. He's a human. Well, you know what I mean. He feels like a real person, an ordinary working-class individual facing frighteningly low chances of survival, and the kinship you form with Olimar throughout your journey is something that's unique to this game given Pikmin 1's pervasive time limit, a mechanic that future games de-emphasize. The stress Olimar feels is mirrored by the player, because if you don't find the parts you need to get the Dolphin in working order, the game is over. You can get one of 3 different endings in Pikmin 1. There's the good ending where Olimar finds all 30 ship parts, and you get extra scenes showing that the Pikmin have learned to defend themselves against the planet's hostile predators, and you get to see a variety of differently colored onions hanging out in the planet's atmosphere, teasing potential sequels with new Pikmin types. There's the neutral ending where Olimar finds the minimum 25 required parts for the ship, and there's the bad ending, one of the darkest conclusions I've seen to a Nintendo game, where Olimar attempts to leave in his incomplete ship, fails, dies, and the Pikmin carry his body to an onion, and it sprouts an Olimar Pikmin seed. It's the cycle of life. In one of Olimar's voyage log entries, he actually wonders what it would be like to be a Pikmin, and almost wishes for it so that he at least wouldn't have to deal with his boss anymore. I like the way that he snaps himself out of this delusion and has to remind himself that he can't give up. It feels very realistic in the way it's portrayed, and the game is full of this. Olimar is very nuanced in the way he's written. While the sequels make several improvements to the gameplay and formula introduced in Pikmin 1, the first game, to me, has always trumped the others in the story department, and the way that the story goes hand in hand with the gameplay loop. But that isn't to say that Pikmin 1 hasn't aged well as a game just because the sequels make improvements in some areas. Quite the opposite, in fact. So to prevent the bad ending from continuing, you have to explore the 5 main areas of the planet to look for the Dolphin's missing parts. Olimar is flat out useless on his own though. He can't carry anything, and if it isn't a dwarf bulborb or a sheargrub, he can't kill anything either. Ship parts can be found lying out in the open, but most of the time, reaching them takes a little more finagling and maneuvering, and most of the indigenous life is big, mean, and some of them are the bane of my existence. This is where the Pikmin come into play. Under Olimar's command, the Pikmin are able to fight enemies, clear out obstacles, and most importantly, carry things, from pellets and enemy carcasses they can take back to their onions to increase their numbers, to the missing ship fragments. The gameplay loop of Pikmin 1 boils down to spending an in-game day exploring an area with the help of the Pikmin, picking away at it bit by bit in search of the Dolphin's parts. Any observations you made during the day, points of interest you took note of, and tasks you weren't able to get done should be kept in mind so you can try to create a plan and strategy to try to make the best use of your time the next day. On paper, Pikmin 1 doesn't seem like a difficult game to beat, as long as you can maintain a rate of at least 1 part collected per day. But on your first playthrough, when you have no idea what you're getting into and don't know where every part is or the fastest, most efficient methods of getting them all, you might be surprised by how easily a plan can go awry and how fast things can fall apart by making just a couple of mistakes. The biggest thing you want to avoid is letting too many of your Pikmin die, not just so you don't have to hear their cries of pain, but because if your numbers are too low, you can find yourself in a situation where you're stuck and have no way of making any more progress, so you have to spend precious time getting your army's numbers back up. The Pikmin are a fragile bunch, so you're their caretaker caretaker as much as you are their leader, and similar to parenting, you're bound to make a few errors in judgment with the first few children under your care. Much like Luigi's Mansion, you are highly encouraged to play through Pikmin more than once, using your knowledge of previous runs to complete the game faster, keep more of your Pikmin alive, and essentially become a master tactician. Since your results are shown to you at the end of every playthrough, it's easy to see if you've been improving. There's also the intrinsic factor to consider when analyzing what makes Pikmin 1 such a fun game to replay. I remember in my very first run, I completed the game in about 24 days, and as I sat there staring at my results, I told myself, I know I can do better. I know where I messed up, and I think I can avoid those mistakes now. I now know not to bring too many Pikmin into the BD Longlegs fight. I now know there's this stash of bomb rocks I can use that's easier to get to than the stash I was utilizing before. I now know I only have to kill this burrowing Snagret for the ship part, and that I should probably bring blue Pikmin with me so they can take a shortcut and carry it back through the water. So f it, roll it back. And I did. Many times. For the same reason I love Majora's Mask, I love the time management aspect of Pikmin 1, and given the game's short length, it's easy to pick up and do a run whenever I'm in the mood. It's an incredible feeling when you're able to get a lot done in one day, and your reward is that phenomenal melody that plays as night begins to set in. There isn't as much potential for multitasking in the first game given that you're only in control of one captain, but I actually find that to be one of the appeals of Pikmin 1, as the sequels can feel a tad overwhelming when you're trying to manage multiple characters. The first game is more focused in that regard, and it's not like there isn't any opportunity to multitask. You can leave a group of Pikmin to roll out one of these bridges, or task them to fight an enemy, or let them carry something back to base on their own while you go off and do something else. The trick is to plan ahead when doing this, and make sure that you take the necessary measures to keep your unsupervised Pikmin out of harm's way. This mostly entails clearing out the immediate area and routes leading to the ship of enemies to avoid any nasty surprises. It sucks when you suddenly see those numbers at the bottom of the screen start dropping. Now you have to open your map and see where any unattended Pikmin might be in trouble and frantically make your way over there before it's too late. While Pikmin 2 is probably the hardest game in the series overall when you consider all the silly bullshit that game is filled with, Pikmin 1 is definitely the one where I feel the most helpless and like I'm in danger at all times. It is so easy to lose a bunch of Pikmin in this game. I am frequently left stunned by how fast some of these enemies can kill my little friends. Spotty bullbears in the distant spring are brutal to deal with if you aren't able to kill them quick enough with a bum rush. If you try to swarm a group of male sheargrubs, even with a large group of Pikmin, it's almost impossible not to have any casualties. Watch out, jump scare incoming in 3, 2, 1. Wallywogs and yellow Wallywogs are the fucking worst. Yeah, they're classified as two different enemies even though they do the same thing, which is send my Pikmin to an early death. They leap into the air and any Pikmin that happen to be chilling under them when they land get crushed. Instant death. And in this game specifically, I swear they're able to kill so many Pikmin at once that it feels illegal. I have yet to find a foolproof, consistent strategy on how to fight these guys. Rushing them looks like a valid tactic since if there are enough Pikmin on them, they can't leap into the air. Right away that is, because they'll eventually break free, knocking over your Pikmin, giving you no time to save them. It's best to just toss Pikmin at their head, let them do a bit of damage, call them back, and repeat till the frog is dead. But even doing it this way is super tricky. If you don't blow your whistle at just the right time, you're very likely to lose, at minimum, a Pikmin or two per cycle. Bosses like the burrowing Snagrets and BD Longlegs can wipe out a bunch of your Pikmin like it's nothing. Same goes for Emperor Bullblacks, the final boss. Did you know that I forgot about this attack when capturing footage? This is the kind of thing that happens when you haven't played a game in a long time. There are also enemies that can't kill your Pikmin, at least not in the traditional sense, but they have a way of inconveniencing you that just gets right under your skin. Swooping snitchbugs roam the distant springs and can grab two of your Pikmin and chuck them into the ground, forcing you to re-pluck them. And puffy blowhogs blow a powerful gust of air that can send your Pikmin flying towards enemies or hazards like fire and water. And it also makes them lose their flowers, which sucks, because leaf Pikmin are slower and not as strong. Come to think of it, puffy blowhogs are also native to the distant spring. There are a lot of Wallywogs here too, and the optional super boss, the Smoky Prog. This area kinda sucks. It's so serene though. I love the subtle haze effect here and the sheen of the water. This is a very good looking game. Many of the puzzles and challenges in Pikmin require a specific Pikmin type to overcome, and one of the best ways you can optimize your playthrough is learning which types of Pikmin are best for certain situations and ship parts. Red Pikmin are the fan favorite, and for good reason. They're the first type you encounter, are immune to fire, and best of all, are the strongest type, able to deal 1.5 times more damage than yellow and blue Pikmin, making reds ideal for a good chunk of enemy encounters. They shine the most in the Forest Navel, a region full of fire geysers and these enemies, fiery blowhogs, that basically can't do anything to to red Pikmin, unless they land in the water when they get shaken off. Yellow Pikmin are found in the Forest of Hope. They are the best for taking out aerial enemies and are required to reach ship parts that are too high up for normal Pikmin to reach, as their ears allow them to be thrown higher distances. They are also the only Pikmin type that can carry and use bomb rocks, the only thing that can destroy these stone walls, some of which lead to ship parts, but a good chunk of these walls simply open up shortcuts when blown up. Honestly, I don't put much priority in raising a bunch of yellow Pikmin. You rarely ever need more than 15 or 20 at a time. They're definitely outclassed by the other two types in this game. Last but not least, there's blue Pikmin, the unsung heroes of Pikmin 1. Everyone loves red Pikmin, but blue Pikmin are immune to the most prevalent hazard in the game, water. In the distant spring especially, blue Pikmin are unmatched. So many of the ship parts in this area require their ability to not drown when stepping in a 2-inch deep puddle. As I brought up earlier, simply having blue Pikmin with you can save time, as they're able to transport things through water, although it is kind of inconsistent when they decide to do this, which is a little annoying. They even have a secret ability where they can rescue drowning Pikmin, but I usually put more faith in my whistle to get them out of the water safely. The best puzzles in Pikmin, to me, are the ones that force you to employ more than one Pikmin type to solve a problem. There aren't that many cases of this throughout the game, but it makes the few multifaceted puzzles that are here stand out. Of course, the obvious example is the Libra and the Forest Navel, where you need blue Pikmin to break open this water geyser, yellow Pikmin to reach the part, and finally red Pikmin to carry it through the fire. Also, can I just say, while it may seem illogical that parts like the Libra and the Sagittarius are needed for the dolphin to escape the planet's atmosphere, narratively speaking, I love that they're mandatory. They represent the astrological signs of Olimar's son and daughter, and the idea that he can't make it home without them because of the emotional significance they hold tugs at my heartstrings. Anyways, right next to the Libra is the analog computer, another part that necessitates multiple Pikmin types, blues to get it out of the water, and reds to deal with the same fire hazard from before. There's a part that requires a similar solution to this in the distant spring, with the option to use this flower called a candy pop bud to convert your Pikmin to the flower's color. The final trial, again, asks you to make use of all three types in order to reach the final boss. Still, even though not every part requires you to combine the Pikmin's abilities in this way, that doesn't mean you aren't allowed to do that when coming up with your own micro-optimizations and solutions to problems. Take this section, hiding the gravity jumper. The naive approach is to simply use blue Pikmin to go around here, build this bridge, and build this other bridge to create a path for the part to be carried through, and to get access to some bomb rocks. Or to speed it along, you can leave the blue Pikmin to build this bridge, and throw some others onto the ledge to build the second bridge. Ideally, you would have brought red Pikmin to do this, so they can take the gravity jumper back to base without having to worry about them getting their asses burned by the fiery blowhogs. When you get the whimsical radar, you are able to see where every ship part is on the map, but when you land in an area, you are free to choose the order in which you collect them, and when you come across a roadblock, there's usually more than one way to get around it. Certain barriers can be flat out ignored. The levels are made up of paths that branch off, meaning there are several alternative means of getting to your destination. This is a game that welcomes differing playstyles and problem-solving methods, not just when it comes to exploration, but combat as well. You can be reckless but risk losing Pikmin, or take a more calculated and safe approach. To me, this is one of the most enticing qualities of the series. There's rarely a wrong way to approach these games. Once you have every area unlocked, you can either stick to one until you've completed it 100%, or you can choose to jump around to have a change in scenery every day. By doing this, you may even accidentally run into an optional enemy or two. Even if you aren't able to find a single part on a certain day, chances are that you made progress without realizing it, either by sprouting more Pikmin, taking out some enemies, directing your troops to some nectar to turn them into flowers, scoping out the region and getting acquainted with the setup, or a combination of all of the above. And sure, while the games can be frustrating and super challenging at times, Pikmin is generally a very cozy experience. Its environments are soothing and peaceful when you aren't having boulders launched at your face, with the exception of the Forest Navel, where your view is limited by the darkness that consumes the top edge of the screen. It's the most oppressive feeling area in the game, and the song here complements the vibe quite well, I'd say. Then again, this is where you can find the bread bug, and this dude is just fucking adorable. But there's also the puff stool, a mini boss that looks like a mushroom and can turn your Pikmin into zombified versions of themselves with its spores. The creature designs of Pikmin can range from being super charming to straight up horror-like. But there is one thing they all have in common. Their names are weird and freaking hilarious. Bulborb, Swooping Snitch Bug, Water Dumple, Shearwig, Gulix, Territorial Rotbart. Wait, You aren't supposed to be here. Oh, I also have to commend just how much thought was put into the planet's ecosystem as early as the first game. Only by reading monster descriptions in the game's encyclopedias, or in Pikmin 1's case, the enemy roll call in the credits, will you learn that dwarf bulborbs belong to a different species than spotty bulborbs, or that water dumples are close relatives to the bulborbs. Also, this monstrosity is the malformed larval form of this harmless chap. All of this miscellaneous information about the world and the creatures that inhabit it illustrates the amount of care poured into this franchise. It wasn't just about making a fun strategy game, it was also about immersing you. Pikmin is the kind of art where you can just tell that the creators had a lot of fun making it, and they wanted the player to feel that passion. That charm is felt vividly through the Pikmin themselves and even the way Olimar interacts with them. The fact that you round them up with a simple whistle is so endearing to me. I love the little military-esque tune that plays when you direct them, like they're doing an adorable march. The sound design of Pikmin is one of my personal favorite things about the game. Stuff as simple as plucking the Pikmin, them carrying things, the onions and chip absorbing them, the jingle that plays when bridges are built and walls come down. It is thanks to the sound design that every action in this game feels so satisfying, and it contributes to that feeling of progress, no matter how minuscule the task was. The Pikmin celebrate by jumping up and down when they bring a part back, they stretch and do seductive poses when idle, they moo when picking up bomb rocks. There's even an Easter egg where you can let them carry Olimar to one of the onions, causing fireworks to shoot out. I'm not kidding when I say that a big part of what makes Pikmin work as a concept is, well, the Pikmin. If these dudes weren't as lovable as they are, I genuinely believe this series wouldn't be as beloved as it is. From their simplistic designs, to their voices, to the way their limbs stretch in that hideous way they do, it's no wonder Miyamoto treats Pikmin, the franchise and the actual characters, with such fondness. They're his babies. It makes sense why Nintendo has been sort of pushing Pikmin to be an unofficial mascot of sorts for the company in recent years. I mean, when you perform data transfers on the Wii U and 3DS, they're depicted with these cute animations involving Pikmin physically moving your data from one system to another. The Pikmin are what make Pikmin so great. They're also the stupidest fucking idiots I've ever seen. Pikmin are a lot like toddlers. They're kinda dumb. They can trip and get left behind if you don't notice. They break formation if they get too close to pellet posies or rocks or weeds. They constantly get stuck behind walls and other random objects, making navigating through tight spaces with a large group of them a damn nightmare. And the morons will sometimes walk right into danger when you try to split them up. Really, you don't know how to swim and you're gonna walk right into the damn water. The Pikmin can be your best ally, but they can also be your worst foe. And in a game where the clock is constantly ticking, these small quirks add up and can make the game very frustrating. It gets to the point where when I see a Pikmin doing some dumb shit, I just leave them be. Say hi to the frogs at night for me. While the Pikmin AI in the first game is quite infamous for how bad it can be, it's also something I kinda like about it. Don't get me wrong, it's anger-inducing at times, but it opens the window for so many hilarious moments that can occur during your playthrough. I catch myself laughing more than anything when the Pikmin AI does something stupid. The best thing that came out of Pikmin 1 and 2 coming out on the Switch was seeing people who had never played the first two games lose their minds over how the Pikmin can act in them, and posting their reactions and experiences online. There's something I find oddly appealing about the jank in Pikmin 1 and 2. In Pikmin 1's case, not only do you have the wonky ass AI, but also actual deadly and game-breaking glitches due to poor programming. The crush glitch is the one I'm sure most people who have played the game have seen at least once. It's this nasty glitch where sometimes your Pikmin will get pushed under the walkable terrain and die. Caught under a bridge, they'll die. Swarming a big enemy, they can probably die. A ton of them can die. This glitch is actually more common in the Wii version, so give me a second while I update the tally. The Libra has a chance of bouncing out of bounds. Pikmin can get stuck on nothing when crossing bridges while carrying something. And yeah, none of this is good. And future games are definitely much more polished, and in the cases of Pikmin 3 and 4, the AI is pretty stellar. However, I can't imagine a version of Pikmin 1 that's all sanitized and functional. It's part of the game's identity at this point. And in the case of the Pikmin AI, if the Pikmin were all perfect troopers who did everything flawlessly, I feel like that would remove a lot of the game's challenge. And while I'm sure that this wasn't intentional on the developer's part, the fact that you can say that the Pikmin gets smarter and more competent as the series goes on kind of makes sense from a story point of view. In Pikmin 1, you get the sense that the Pikmin learn and grow as a species from their time with Olimar. It's as if fate brought them all together. The Pikmin were probably facing facing extinction before Olimar came along. And yes, you have to rebuild their population in every game after this, but you find at least a few of each type out in the wild now. And like I said, they're much more capable compared to the last time you visited the planet. I might be reading too much into this, but it's something I've thought about since Pikmin 3 came out. The sequels do a great job at fleshing out ideas and mechanics from this game while introducing their own to strengthen its foundation, but Pikmin 1 is far from obsolete. Archaic in some areas, sure, but what first installment isn't? It's incredibly addictive, charming, rewarding. It has stronger level design than I remembered, and has a deceptively high skill ceiling that requires multiple playthroughs to study the best approaches for combat, ship part gathering, Pikmin propagation, resource management, and all of this makes Pikmin 1 not just a great strategy game for its time, but one that is still worthy of high praise over 20 years later. There's still a lot of merit to revisiting the first Pikmin game, and if you've never played it, if you can get past some of the jank, I promise it's worth your time. And if you don't end up liking it, you can yell at me in the comments and boost this video's engagement. Anyways, this channel recently surpassed 10,000 subscribers, and I can't thank you all enough for that. I truly can't express how grateful I am. If you're interested, you can vote for what video you'd like to see next via the latest community post. I'll leave a link to it in the description. I'll announce the winner in a week or two, though from the looks of it, it seems that Metroid Prime Trilogy is going to take the win. Regardless of which video topic ends up winning, I'll see you all next time. Take care, and as always, thanks for watching.